Hold up, grab my soda, cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape pape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes. Or a gorilla in a cape is the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimations. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan, how you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation, you're a cheap imitation. Dark said hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in the cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over, it's been non-bit.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Productions. Man up, slaves, and hit those buttons, or I'll send ice.
Okay, greetings everybody. Keith here, hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I'll remind everybody, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal link down below for anybody who wants to share some love. We're in need of it, of course, with the wrongful eviction turned constructive eviction. And so we've had to do certain things. As the pandemic monk, what the fuck? Fake ass Hitler the actor. All the information and do nothing with it. And this is the epitome of somebody that wants to validate themselves, seeking attention by trying to virtue signal that I'm not doing what I say I'm doing, and therefore he's virtue signaling from his end that he's better. So if you don't know, then maybe go back through the last almost 1,500 videos over the last 10 years and see what I've been doing. See, I'm the only guy that I know of stands there in court, says, fuck you, I ain't doing what you tell me. Prosecutor runs down a list of all my previous crimes and says, he's not going to do what he tells, what we tell him, Your Honor. The judge looks at her and says, no shit. The same prosecutor that filed a protection order to keep me out of the courts and then renewed it 4 years in a row after that. These are the same people that tried to put a warrant out for my arrest for failure to appear for jury duty. And there was no claimant, no finances, no bond was found. And yet magically they produced a bond. And then when I mentioned it to them and brought their insurance paperwork, they said, oh, we'll dismiss it. But then they turned around and adjudicated the costs to the defendant, which is against the rules. And now it is against Iowa Supreme Court case law. And now it is statutorily mandated that if a plaintiff brings a case and it's dismissed, they pay for it. It's only when you can find the defendant guilty that you then transfer the costs to them. So the things that I've been doing over the last 10 years is certainly a great education for myself. And I can sit here and explain it to you all I want, but I can't comprehend it for you. Therefore, like I said, go over my videos, particularly here recent in regards to this wrongful term constructive eviction, and see what I've been doing in the civil suit that we've got going in the private, meaning it didn't go into the courts. We took the activities that were being held against us and filed a civil suit in private. See, that's what I learned. See, equity is a matter of privacy. Therefore, at any manner, it should be done in chambers, in camera. And this is the only remedy that you can get, and you have to create it yourself. So when I'm done with this review here today, I'm going to come back with another video on equity and how it works. How all those different 20 maxims of equity correlate to each other and are intertwined just as much as the English language. So what I'm doing about it, maybe you should go review what I've been doing about it before you open your mouth. So let's get into it. Today we're talking about, did the bitch-ass slaves celebrate properly here in Nazi America? And we're going to take a look at a few videos from Cop Talk Live. Now, this is the guy I've been watching. He's been pointing some things out that I can completely agree with. So I'm not vouching for the man himself. I'm vouching for the information that he's putting out and the fact that I agree with it. I am in agreement with his propositions here. So let's take a look at Cop Talk Live. Oops, let me get screen share up again. Somehow I lost the screen share. Hold on, folks. And that should do it. There we go. Josh Jonio is down there, says the actor in the crowd. Yes, it's a circus. And you're in it one way or another. You're either one of the participants, one of the clowns, or you're one of the ones watching it as a participator in the crowd. You want this shit, folks.
If you guys haven't caught on to the agenda by now about why females like this all across America are getting hired, well, let me clue you in on it. This is grooming. This is the police department is the new Catholic Church, and it's time for you guys to wake the fuck up and acknowledge it. See, all across America, all you have to do is go to your Facebook page of whatever police department serves you and go look at the new hires they're posting on there. And you're going to see a lot of.
And I posted the StreamYard link down there below for anybody that wants to join the panel and give me your views, whether you agree or not. This is a place where we can have complaints, concerns, comments, and compliments. It's a broad spectrum. I enjoy open minds. So please feel free to hit the link and come up and discuss. Did the bitch-ass slaves celebrate properly here in Nazi America? It's an open panel, folks. All you got to do is have the heart to open the mouth and be smart about it. Be intelligent about it.
Of photos like this, and you just go look at the men who are lined up for them, right? And if you don't believe me here, I'll give you a second to show you what's going on right now in the nation. If you haven't figured out yet how this is grooming, let me explain. Now, you've heard and you're familiar about the stereotype that cops date strippers, right? Well, on the patrol level, the reason why they do is very simple. Number one, delusional younger cops think that when we date strippers, I can change her, right? I can save her. That's the number one thing.
Notice he's pointing out that that's one of the people that they date most. It's prominent in young single police officers, males, to date strippers. Amazing. Amazing.
But what we don't realize is that the stripper is probably one of the greatest capitalists in the world, and they are looking for money and power. Now, cops don't necessarily.
And she knows how to pimp that officer out. Know what I'm saying, folks? You know what I'm saying?
Necessarily have money, but most of us who dated stripper know that they leveraged us for power, and then while they had their rich boyfriends on the side, and we got cucked. See, command staff figured it out. Command staff is usually consisting of older men who get nagging bitch wives and family who don't pay them any attention whatsoever at home. They come to work, they're miserable. Command staff got on this 30 by 30 agenda, and they figured out I can wield my power over influential women, and I can get the attention by hiring them and having a quid pro quo in place that is so unwritten, but everybody knows about it. If you don't think that these older fucking men who are hiring your daughters are not grooming them for what, even if on the most minor level, to get the attention their wives don't give them at home, you're out of your fucking mind. This is nothing more than predatory behavior by police and capitalism by strippers. See, the thing about female cops is female cops are the new strippers. They have figured out why beat them when I can join them instead. This whole notion of 30 by 30 agenda is simply a loophole for older, neglected males who are married or in miserable relationships to feel like God status among younger women who will idolize them until they sniff out their bullshit and kick them into the curb. And that's usually when lawsuits wind up happening in departments. And females who figured out, why the fuck do I want to date a broke-ass cop anymore for that power when I could just become one? Congratulations, kids. If you haven't figured this out by now, this is simply grooming, and it's going to have the worst ending possible.
So I want to speak about the 19th Amendment. What do you think them beta-cut corporate males were doing in Senate behind those closed doors, legislating the 19th Amendment? See, that grooming has already happened. And it's just continuing in different levels, in different forums, in different jurisdictions. See, a real man's position in life is to protect women, not to groom them so they can sit down and take notes while they dictate and orate their fucking legislations. You were used. You were pimped, ladies. You were brought into the intercourse of business. Made models of a figure that men desired. You were made part of a popularity contest. And it didn't happen overnight. It's been going on for eons. And it's just slowly been shifting and merging into all the different various shadowy corners of everybody's lives. Why do you think there's so much problem with trafficking? Because you're so gullible. You so want to be a part of it. You don't even look out for yourself. Why would you look out for your children? You get your fish from somebody else, can't they? You don't know anything. You can't teach them nothing. So you send them off to somebody else to teach them. Good job. You're part of the grooming. You're either sitting there watching or you're one of the actors. If you don't get out of the circus, then you're going to pay the ticket as many times as they want you to pay it.
You know, if you guys haven't caught on to the agenda by now about why females like this all across America are getting hired, well, let me clue you in on it. This is grooming. This is the police department is the new Catholic Church, and it's time for you guys to wake the fuck up and acknowledge it. See, all across America, all you have to do is go to your Facebook page of whatever police department serves you and go look at the new hires they're posting on there. And you're going to see a lot of photos like this. And you just go look at the men who are lined up for them, right? And if you don't believe me here, I'll give you a second to show you what's going on right now in the nation. If you haven't figured out yet how this is grooming, let me explain. Now,
And notice these are literally midgets.
you've heard and you're familiar about the stereotype that cops date strippers, right? Well, on the patrol level, the reason why they do is very simple. Number one, delusional younger cops think that when we date strippers, I can change her, right? I can save her. That's the number one thing. But what we don't realize is that the stripper is probably one of the greatest capitalists in the world, and they are looking for money and power. Now, cops don't necessarily have money, but most of us who date a stripper know that they leverage us for power.
I worked as a cook, closer cook at the one of the local family restaurants for a number of years. And one of the waitresses was part-time because she was a full-time police officer. And she literally told me that she gets wet when she puts handcuffs on men. She gets off on it because she feels the power and authority. This man's not lying to you.
Power, and then while they had their rich boyfriends on the side, and we got cucked. See, command staff figured it out. Command staff is usually consisting of older men who get nagging bitch wives and family who don't pay them any attention whatsoever at home.
Sound like your congressmen, your senators, yeah, all your politicians, these people that hold those strings in authority. Suppose their family likes them if the rest of population doesn't like them, or do they just put up with them? See, the tide's going to turn, and blood is not thicker than water.
They come to work, they're miserable. Command staff got on this 30 by 30 agenda, and they figured out I can wield my power over influential women, and I can get the attention by hiring them and having a quid pro quo in place that is so unwritten, but everybody knows about it. If you don't think that these older fucking men who are hiring your daughters are not grooming them for what, even if on the most minor level, to get the attention their wives don't give them at home, you're out of your fucking mind. This is nothing more than predatory behavior by police and capitalism by strippers. See, the thing about female cops is female cops are the new strippers. They have figured out why beat them when I can join them instead. This whole notion of 30 by 30 agenda is simply a loophole for older, neglected males who are married or in miserable relationships to feel like God status among younger women who will idolize them until they sniff out their bullshit and kick them into the curb. And that's usually.
And yeah, kick them to the curb. But what about the one that does him one up better, really pimps him out? You know, I told you about the gal that had a part-time waitress job. What if she got a part-time stripper job? And he was down at the strip joint during his off hours, throwing $1 bills at the strippers. The biggest cuck of them all. Better pay attention, folks.
When lawsuits wind up happening in departments, and females who figured out, why the fuck do I want to date a broke ass cop anymore for that power when I could just become one? Congratulations, kids. If you haven't figured this out by now, this is simply grooming, and it's going to have the worst ending possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's go on to the next one. Like I said, I got a few of these that I'm going to talk about. I like Cop Talk Live the way his perspective is, because it aligns with a lot of what I have been saying. Women don't belong in the military or the police. There are certain roles in society that they should have played, and those were disrupted when the 19th Amendment came in. Call me a misogynist all you want, but rather, hopefully you understand that I respect and comprehend my duty as a man is more to preserve, protect, and provide rather than play sympathy for popularity.
that it is a daily, it's a daily occurrence at this point, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, where I'll post images like this that are not photoshopped whatsoever. They're actually police department hires from across America that people send me that I just repost. And a majority of them are of women who are under 5'2" in height that are being just showcased on the departments all over the place. But I found this comment to be very interesting and actually a very good point of why I'm so personally against this. And I want to point this out. It's from Robert Beadle, who said, I don't understand why most of you are such negative people. She's qualified to do the job until she isn't. One of the best officers I worked with was 5'0", 100-pound female. She would have your back in any situation. I got hers. Way to go. Be safe. Now, number one, no, we all know the truth. The 100-pound cop you worked with was able to do the job because you were there. But let's talk about what you said in your comment, which is beyond true.
Not only because he was there, but because she's weaponized. Just like the obese guy that can't actually chase down a criminal, he can pull out multiple weapons, including up to a dog or a actual gun, weapon, a firearm.
True that every American should be terrified about. Now, the statement I want to point out that you make is so irresponsible.
And it's all doing nothing but grooming you. It is pacifying you to live in fear, because now you got a 4'9" woman that has a gun, and she will use it because it's the only means she can use to take you down.
Responsible is saying she's able to do the job until she can't. That requires on-the-job training, right? Trial and error.
Not so much, because she can just use her gun. Just train her to use a gun, and she can shoot them.
Or everything goes through it, right? But this isn't Starbucks. It's not your local movie theater, any type of retail, gas station, grocery store. When you make a mistake on the job of this, right? It's not, oh, miss, I'm sorry. You ordered a triple non-fat grande latte, and I actually made whole milk with that. I know this is a massive convenience or inconvenience. I'm going to go ahead and refund your money and make your order for free. And the next time you're in, here's this. These are people's lives that are going to be ruined. You could be the first one. Let's do this with you. Whatever is in your town, I hope that you experience firsthand one of the most egregious, horrible things that happens to you. Loved one is shot, bleeding, stabbed. Somebody's having the worst panic attack of their life. Something that requires law enforcement to show up, not know what's going on, and quell the scene just quickly, safely as possible. And I hope she shows up. I hope she does. And I hope when she's not able to handle the situation, that you give her the grace and leeway when she pulls out her pistol and she uses the force, that she'll be deemed reasonable because of the ejectable reasonable standard. And you go, you know what? It was on the job training. She had to figure it out. I was the mistake. My family was the mistake that she made it on, and she'll be a better officer for it. Or she learned that she just can't do the job, and she's not able to. The more you guys defend the females like this, the more someone's going to suffer. Another cop, the citizen, them. This is dress up and playtime for them. And they've been sold a lie that they could do this job that they can't. It is not cruel. It is not bullying. It is not doing anything other than showing these women that we care about them by saying, you do not belong in this profession or on the street, and we are trying to keep you safe because you are a danger to everyone else out there.
Not only are they a danger, but again, because it's our priority as men to protect, preserve, and provide for the women and children, particularly those that are barren and the children that are desolate, which are enumerated much more than those of the married wife. Instead, we have officers out there acting like cucks to whores that are pimping them and having babies by them and living off a welfare system, off of a check that they now have to pay child support and everything. So they're arresting you even more. So no matter what aspect we get it from, and again, you can call me misogynist all you want. You women are in your wrong place. Go out there in the woods and live with a bear. See what happens. But I urge you to first try to live with a real man first. And in order to do that, you have to look for real men. So let's look at the next one.
Now, let me do you a solid. If you've ever been pulled over or cited in Fulton County, Georgia for distracted driving or using a handheld device while operating a motor vehicle, or if you're a defense attorney and you have a client who's gone through that, or if you are a member of the Fulton County Sheriff's Department, and if you have been disciplined for violating a department policy, let me introduce you to Lieutenant Yashi Humans and her social media behavior that hopefully will either get you out of a ticket, or if you got jammed up at work, you could put this right on your commander's desk and ask them why the hypocrisy.
Yeah, and the hypocrisy is part of your civil, your civil liberties, your rights and stuff. It's part of that package, and that is the equality of the law. This is set in the Constitution as equality of the law among the states. And what it's referring to is being able to assert that you should get treated the same as your fellow man. And so when somebody doesn't treat you the same as your fellow man, then they're being biased, and that's a discretion that shouldn't be had. So India Maria, greetings, brother Keith. Almost 20 minutes behind your live stream, but I've been meaning to say hi since it's been a while. Greetings, sister. Greetings, sister. And Manna Boyle comes in. If you teach them to weight train, proper self-defense, then they could be formidable without jumping to pull a gun. But yeah, this is a bad idea. Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, how much weight training are you going to give a 4'9" woman? I mean, you saw some of those women. It was ridiculous. How much weight training are you going to give them to be able to take on a 115-pound, 5'7" man that just got over lung cancer? You're not going to do it. Then he goes on, you don't give any dog a gun, but untrained chihuahuas would be the most dangerous. Yeah. In a sense, yeah, same thing. Anyway, remember, folks, the link is down there for anybody who wants to join me. Let's finish up here.
See, when it comes to social media, when you guys want to keep glorifying you and leveraging the badge and a uniform as it's a fucking prop in your life for me, then we're going to use it against you. Lieutenant, this is your public social media content you put up online, and I want to see how you're going to defend your behavior to anybody you've ever written this ticket to or anybody you've ever disciplined underneath you.
I'm a hustler. You don't need to ask a hustler where she is getting her money.
And that was the audio from her video. She calls herself a hustler, baby. She a hustler. Don't you get it?
I don't even know what's about to happen next, but I'm already thanking God for what he's about to do. I can feel his hand.
Yeah, now, no doubt, this is...
And I got to ask something that might not be so obvious, but I got to ask it. Where's Daddy in this? Did he get pimped? Just a question. I don't know. Maybe Daddy's around, but he ain't been in none of these social videos so far in a car, a nice car, that you would think he might be in once in a while. Don't know. See, the family structure's been torn up so much in the modern times, all around the world, so much that it's kind of hard to believe in that fairy tale anymore. I would think you'd wake up.
This is my absolute fucking favorite one. Now, not only are you distracted driving, paying more attention to the camera than the road, but I'm assuming your daughter in the back seat, well, she's learning your behavior, but now you are putting her child endangerment, right? The very same criminal charge that you would look at anybody else for and give them a court date for as well, too. See, this is what we...
So what he's pointing out here, folks, is that when they arrest you for doing the same things they do and they get treated different, they're treating you different than they would treat themselves and their fellow man. Is that not a violation? That's what he's pointing out, is the hypocrisy that these people pose that they know the law when they don't, and that they can enforce you to follow the law when they don't. All they're doing is issuing citations, and somebody else is putting the enforcement on by signing off on it. I'm just doing my job. And there's a whole line of them. And they all grew up in the same places. They're all friends. It's a big old club and you ain't in it.
You have to look at the hypocrisy that Americans are outraged over, while you guys who are cops have the badge, can get away with fucking anything. I think everybody on the planet who lives in Georgia or Fulton County should save this content and present it the next time a county sheriff gets in an accident, drives irresponsibly through the neighborhood. What is going to happen the day that you wind up hitting a kid, somebody in the crosswalk, a pedestrian, you rear end a car? This is evidence that you are a distracted driver who constantly breaks the law and uses her badge to brag about it because she doesn't give a fuck about the responsibility or the oath she swore, let alone her own kid. Fulton County, Georgia's best and brightest, right? Save this if you've gotten this charge against you, or if you're a member of the Fulton County Sheriff's Department who is facing some sort of discipline because your command staff is the biggest bunch of hypocrites that you have out there.
And this, folks, is one of the best reasons to get to know your local command. Get to know them. Follow them on their social media. That's not called harassment. You're just following them. And it is a form of oversight because, like he pointed out, when they get on social media in their uniform, just got off the job, showing you that they're an officer of the law, particularly a higher level supervisory one with stripes and bars and stars. See, that's your job, is the oversight. How are you going to maintain oversight if you don't know them? See, that's another thing that the man mentioned earlier. Well, what are you going to do with all that information? Well, I'm the one that goes to city council meetings wearing the short mustache, reminding them that I see Hitler's willing executioners. And if they're going to be the executioners, they better understand who gives the command. See, this is a public service, is a public trust. And that principle, the mayor, is obligated and assigned that obligation to a lesser who undertook it, an undertaker, who now is obligated to the people. There is no other way around it. You do not shift the position of the people as the benefactor of a public trust. It's impossible. When you learn this, you understand how they're lying to you. And you hold that insurance document right in front of them and let them know. $2.5 million each claim. And each claim involves each person that signed off on it. You're all involved. The claim is against all of you. So let's take a look at the next one.
Police officer is now suing her own department over discrimination.
Tyson Crutchfield says that she was punished after trying to de-escalate a situation back in February, and she believes it's because she's Black.
Well, Chauncey, you know, these are some serious claims against the Pasadena Police Department, from discrimination to fellow officers saying racial slurs and then being promoted.
Straight up, he shouldn't be on the streets.
Punished for taking action because of the color of her skin. That's what the father of Pasadena police officer Tyson Crutchfield says happened in February. In body camera footage released of the incident, you see several officers around a teen on the left. Crutchfield says one of them pushed the teen's face into a cactus, but the department says that's not what the video shows. She says she later tried to gently push the officer away to de-escalate the situation, and she was ordered to return to the station.
Yeah, you know why? No, don't sit here and back the story up now. Story up now. Don't do that. Story up now. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that in the streets. Straight up. He shouldn't be on the streets. Straight up. He shouldn't be on the streets. He shouldn't be on the streets. And I'm definitely letting no boy know. Walk away.
See, and that's in case you didn't understand that there, you heard how she was speaking, right? You would think somebody that has integrity, good morals and ethics, strong character would exude that in their speech. But no, she's talking like a street hoe. These are the people that you're signing off on. You think your vote counts? Okay.
Hey, get in the car. Get in the car.
Did you see them eyelashes? I didn't know that was a requisite part of a female uniform as a police officer. See all the makeup?
I haven't even done shit.
Go over here. You go over there.
I haven't even done shit. What am I
Go back to the station right now.
Wait a minute. What am I getting in trouble?
Crutchfield, go back to station.
I'm leaving.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tyson Crutchfield, your Miss Cosmo, Idaho, USA.
Oh, imagine that. Imagine that. She went from Barbie Miss Ohio or whatever to being a police officer. Ain't that special? You people put her there.
Growing up as a track and field Division I college athlete, I learned quickly what being resilient truly meant. When I had to end my college career due to a knee injury, I knew my calling was to protect and serve.
Due to a knee injury, which, let me tell you about knee injuries, folks. If you can't maintain physical aptness, you can't chase down the criminal because you got a bad knee. Again, just one more excuse to be able to use that weapon. But let me tell you about military entrance, the examination required to get in the military to be able to serve and protect in the real aspect. You can't have those physical disabilities. Wouldn't you think that would be kind of a flow chart that would flow down to the lower jurisdictions, that if you're going to be a police officer, there should be some kind of physical requirement, including those height requirements and the fact that, no, you shouldn't be in the military, ladies. Again, 19th Amendment opened a wide door. You stepped right in. And look at you now.
My community. Now, as a police officer, I'm able to contribute to bridging the gap and building a healthy relationship with the people I serve. Being a minority and a female in a male-dominant career has had its challenges, but through my initiative of being a beauty in blue, I will continue to advocate for women who have had to face discrimination, retaliation, and harassment in this line of work.
Former police officer for the city of Pasadena, who publicly accused the chief of police of sexual harassment and then acknowledged under oath that the accusation was a lie, has lost her discrimination lawsuit and been ordered to pay the city $40,000 in legal fees. At a news conference on April 2nd, Crutchfield stated, quote, she did not want to sleep with Chief Harris, and that as a result of that, she was punished harshly. The court found that a month later in a deposition with Ms. Crutchfield, she admitted under oath that her statements concerning the alleged allegation by Chief of Police Harris at the television press conference was a lie. Females do this all the time in law enforcement when it comes down to not getting what they want either. It's sexual harassment. They don't get what they want. They claim sexual harassment.
Meanwhile,
it's the number one go-to anywhere they go. So guys, again, ladies and gentlemen, you can call me misogynist all you want, but I suggest you start keeping your women at home, protecting, preserving, and providing for them. Put them in their role. Help them build that role and get accustomed to it. Dumb Mock Crazy says, Perro, you could really pimp up that mustache and make your image clear with a Nazi-style coat and badge. Well, you know, we do have a theater company downtown. I might think about that. So let's get back to it because we got a couple more. And then we're going to listen to Susan Bossy. I got a 12-minute and some second video of Susan Bossy we're going to listen to. But first, we got a couple more from on Pop Talk Live and another one.
The average human being is going to see between 5 to 7 critical incidents in a lifetime. That means 5 to 7 times they're going to see a fatal car accident, a dead body. But your average first responder over a 25-year career is going to see between 500 to 600.
I've seen this trend going around, and I want to thank you guys for putting it up there because I got to tell you, number one, you're not fucking special. This is literally what you signed up for. You signed up to see the trauma and the shootings and the stabbings and the dead bodies. You literally signed up for it, and then you're going to act like I'm special because I saw this. I saw my first head exploded. The guy's head was like a can of Popeye. Spinach when Popeye squeezes it. I saw his spinal cord through the top of his head and brains all over. Brad B, 2001. I've seen dead children. There was the dead kid, the 5-month-old infant that I did CPR on that was ice cold and stiff as a board, but I thought the dad was going to murder me if I didn't actually just do minor chest compressions on that shit. That was freaky.
The Great Dictator. A review of Charlie Chaplin's take on Hitler's willing executioners. See us in our next episode. Thanks to Democrazy.
Other dead children, there was the woman who lived on Mary Court, who she jumped in front of a freight train, and when we saw her mangled, twisted body and then had to tell her husband about it, that was a fun one. There was everything, the car accidents, the stabbings, all that. But it wasn't until October 31st, 2004, that my sergeant at the time, Gil Rivera, actually smartened me the fuck up by telling me that this is not about me. It's never about me. We went to a call on Halloween of a boy, 5-year-old boy named Christian Lozada, and he was crushed to death by an industrial piece of landscape equipment, a door that housed like really big lawnmowers and whatnot, fell and crushed him. And when we pulled up on scene, saw about 20 or 30 people surrounded by his mother, and the mother was moaning and wailing, and there is nothing more traumatic than the sound of a mother in pain who is holding and cradling her bloodied 5-year-old dead child. And after we got done with it and processed and all that shit, Gil told me, I wonder how much longer their marriage is going to last now, knowing that they will silently and maybe vocally blame one another, the husband and the wife, for their child's death. It's not about cops. It's not about you. Every time you do shit like this and you make it about you, you're making it numbers, right? Those people you're talking about are another fucking number online. You may have seen the traumatic event, but they lived it. I don't know if that couple that I did CPR to, the dead, cold 5-month-old, if they're still married. I don't know if they had another child after that. I don't know if Christian's parents are still married. I don't know if Brad's parents and family have ever gotten over that. I do know that as cops, we love to capitalize off of it. Oh, poor me, poor me, poor me, only to go bragging in the comment section to one another about what makes you more qualified as a police officer because you've seen X, Y, and Z. Oh, and I've seen this. Don't make it about you. Don't turn someone else's tragedy into your content for social media simply because you signed up for it in the first place and now you're making a deal out of it when it should be about them, never about you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I absolutely agree because this is one of those things, folks. When they try to virtue signal their honor, integrity, and heroism, Where is that when the time comes? See, you brag about it now and you ain't even done it yet. But then when it comes, like he said, it's all about you and your fifis. See, that's why I don't speak about my tragedies so much. I've mentioned them, some of them here and there, but you don't know the nth of it. And I would never tell you. Because just like the equity thing, you have to create your own remedy. You have to have your own experiences before you'll ever comprehend what it actually means internally to yourself. By posting on social media, the external shaping of that popular hero virtue signaling for validation tells me you're weak as fuck. Just say it. So let's get to the next one. And this one
This
here,
radical doctrine.
This one here is a little bit different. It's not Cop Talk Live, but we're talking about the conditioning. Joshua mentioned it earlier. Let me see here. Where did you mention it? Sociopathy is a requirement question, and welcome to Title 18 U.S.C. 987. And what we're talking about here is this sociopathy, society, social conditioning, the insanity of everybody doing the same thing and thinking that because everybody's doing the same thing, they must be doing it right. Herman Sue, 'tis better to walk alone than with a group going the wrong direction. When are you going to recognize you're part of that group going the wrong direction? When are you going to recognize you are Hitler's willing executioner as you sit there across the counter and say, "Sir, I'm just doing my job"? So let's pay attention to this one because it's part of the social conditioning, the 19th Amendment, civil rights. You don't have none of that shit unless you can do it yourself. And that is the paradox of a government. There are people that need it, but not everybody does. But because it's so comfort and convenient to use it, it's a usufruct system, and you use it so well for your comforts and conveniences without realizing how detrimental it is to yourself, your children, your grandchildren, the rest of humanity. You're all involved in sociopathy. You're all sociopaths. You really don't give a fuck. You really don't. The only thing you care about is your own emotions. You don't give a fuck about anybody else. Sad state. Sad state.
Got called out again in this debate.
I want to ask you, what is the youngest age that you have given, your company, Gender GP, has given, sold, I mean, I don't think you give them away for free, puberty blockers. You said youngest could be age 3. What is the youngest age, as far as you're aware, from the company you founded
Puberty
for trans
starts
reasons?
in people for trans reasons. Oof.
No, I'm just saying, the reason
for transgender young people entering puberty.
What age?
So people with ovaries can enter puberty as early as 7.
Why can't you just answer the question? What age?
We didn't maybe say 7 then?
What is it that a trans child believes or is, in your view, that is different from any other child? If you've got a little boy or a little girl who says, I believe I'm trans, I believe that I am a girl or a boy, the opposite from what they have PIN. I don't believe in assigned at birth, which for what they are. What is it that's different about them?
Well, the belief is not their belief. Their understanding is of who they are. It's your belief. You believe by looking down there that is a little boy, and what
I believe
you're
that
doing,
someone with a penis is a boy.
Yeah,
and I'm mistaken.
You see what she's posing now? Do you understand what this woman is saying? This woman is saying that a little child knows and mom and dad don't. They can only believe. See, the sociopathy is being put onto the children through the adults that are suffering from it already. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And I tell people all the time, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't even believe your own mother. Do your own research so you know. Did that child do the research? You see where it misses there? Do you see where the comprehension kind of goes, whoops? And this lady has a degree. How good is the degree on the wall?
Taken in that.
Would you like me to finish or
Okay,
not?
just clarify.
Okay, so you believe by looking at a penis that child is a boy.
Yes, I do.
But that...
Because we've been what? We've learned that. We know it's a boy. You can't just automatically up and now decide, well, if a boy decides he feels like a girl, then we have to change the definition of what a boy is. Because we no longer know. The child's done no research, and it's only an emotional feeling. Oops.
A child may well be saying to you, you've got it wrong, your belief is wrong. Actually, inside my soul, inside my heart, inside my brain, I'm a girl. And people like you who deny that do an awful lot of harm.
If my child said to me, I'm Spider-Man, should I affirm that as well?
Spider-Man is not an identity.
Yeah, Spider-Man is not an identity. Excuse me, what's a Furby? We've accepted Furbies as identifications, right? I mean, where are we going to stop? Where the fuck are we going to stop?
Spider-Man's not a thing.
Spider-Man is a fictional
imaginary
character
Excuse me.
from the television of a bloke who climbs
But
up
a child
walls.
could honestly believe that they are
It's not a
Spider-Man.
belief.
It's not a belief.
Remember we explained that a minute ago. It's your belief that
they are talking factually, and and the rest of the world and the whole of history. We've all been wrong about biological sex, and it's not really a thing. It's entirely something that you know in your own heart. Is that what you're saying?
Well, how do you know what you are? Do you look in the mirror, or is it?
How do you know what you are? Yeah, I looked in the mirror and all the science in the world. And before there was science, says I'm a boy. I'm a male. Where does the belief come in that you're a female, as if though it's knowledge, despite the contradicting physical evidence? Oh, the insanity, they can't answer that.
Well, I mean, I've known all my life. I was given female on my birth certificate because I haven't got a penis, I've got a vagina. I've got pregnant and given birth to a baby. I think the evidence is very, very, very clear that I'm a woman. I want to ask you whether a troubled child came to you as a doctor with anorexia, believing she was too fat. Would you affirm that and help her lose more weight?
Are you really asking that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you're asking the patient, you're asking us to believe that the patient knows what's best for them and just wants you to help them do what they want to do, despite the fact that you know otherwise.
Yeah, it's the same thing. A child that thinks they're the wrong sex, or a child that thinks they're overweight.
You shouldn't get too involved in medicine because of the harm you cause to people who listen.
People like you shouldn't get involved in medicine because the harm you cause to people that listen. This is the woman with the degree saying this. Now, folks, I'm sorry to tell you. I am so sorry to tell you, but I do not have a degree. So I have no proper way to rebut this woman. Because I don't know. I have to believe. Because she's posing that she knows. And therefore, I can only believe. How long are you going to keep putting up with that? When are you going to start doing your research so you know? And tell that bitch to fuck off. I don't want you near my children. I don't think that degree means much. See, these are about trafficking children. In every sense of the word. By pacifying you to just hand them over to psychopaths. And you do it willingly. Been doing it willingly for a long time. In firsthand experience, I'm telling you, the foster care system is not what it is, what you think it is. Much worse. Let's face it, the tribe says, if one gets paid to be a public servant, it means they couldn't hang in the private sector, second or third class. Correct. And there used to be a concept called volunteering. Yeah, now it's been nationalized. National Volunteering Company. Find that one in the code. National Volunteering Company. That's what the United States is. In case you didn't know. That's why it's all operating on 501c3s and grants. While the people, you got to get a loan. Imagine that. Apocalypse Pat MSPF says Yahshua or Yahusha is my hero. My apologies. Survivorship bias, yes. If you know about trusts and stuff. If they live and get paid to do it, it works for them. Yeah. They don't teach jurisdiction in the indoctrination centers for equity futile tenures. You know, I've got this book here. Amazing book. Oops. The courts and the public schools. And since we're talking about equity, no principle of equity jurisprudence seems to be more clearly settled than that courts of equity will not attempt through the issuance of injunctions to determine disputes with respect to title to public office. This is true for a number of reasons. In the first place, it is almost universally held that title to public office is not subject to collateral attack. Moreover, the public have an interest in the performance and the duties of public offices. And should courts of equity interfere by granting injunctions where title is questioned, the public interest might suffer incalculable injury. Finally, from the very earliest of times, the law has provided a civil remedy to determine the right to public office. The right to title to public office. The remedy is an action of quo warranto. This is an action brought in a court of law in the name of the state by the Attorney General or some other officer representing the state to determine directly by what right an officer is exercising the duties of an office in which he is in possession. So it's not a matter of the title. You don't question the title. You question the what? The right to the title. Donnie, you can grow up to be president someday. You can wear that short mustache and even be a dictator. Amazing shit, folks. Amazing shit. And it's all on you. All
Man up, slaves, and hit those buttons, or I'll send ice.
So let's get back to it. Because the next one is Susan Bossy.
If you're looking for 100%
Excuse
cordless
me on the
transfer
commercial.
pump, this is the one you want. This moves a lot of water, fuel, biodiesel.
Oh, come on. Get rid of the commercials.
100,000 Iowa.
And yes, I did have.
I assure you there is no.
I did get an ad blocker for a short period of time, but I had to dismiss it because it was causing problems with demanding that I do other things. So I'll just wait. And in the meantime, hopefully somebody will hit that PayPal link down below and share some love and help a brother out so we can get the StreamYard and everything else back up. Right there it is. Like I said, we're going through a wrongful turn constructive eviction, and we are stretched to the max, barely making it, so every little bit helps. All is appreciated. Let's get into it. Susan Bossy, in case you guys aren't aware of her, go join her channel. Susan Bossy says, judge drinking Kool-Aid in court. This woman does a wonderful job. She's one of those First Amendment auditors I was talking about. Not only does she do the First Amendment audits like most people do, she does them right there in the courts. That's her specialty, is auditing the courts, not the Postal Service, not some weed shop or anything like that, not the police station. Right there in the courts with all these people that are signing off on all the paperwork. Okay? So let's check it out.
No, there's nothing going on with the court, nothing.
I need some direction. Miss Bassey is here, and Miss Bassey is being Miss Bassey, and I caught her on camera turning on her camera/video function on her iPad. I can't confirm she's not recording or not, but she is acting very Miss Bassey-like. If you can please give me a call, we can get some direction from you, what you want me to do. I'd be really appreciated. Okay, thank you.
She's acting very Miss Bassey-like. Okay, so that's telling you that these people are familiar with her. They called in on her before, and that Miss Bassey-like is something they don't like. Maybe that's her attitude of maintaining oversight and letting them know, hey, I'm the boss here. Do your damn job. She does it a little bit lighter than I do, but she's doing the same thing. Okay, folks? Pay attention.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Nope, I need to request some court files.
Okay. What is your name?
Susan Bassey. They sure have changed things around here. I lived in Gilroy for 30 years. This is always publicly accessible.
This is Susan Bassey. Here on this channel, we report on modern-day policing, the courts, and local government. We request public records and make media requests to record court hearings because in California, unlike Kentucky, cameras are prohibited and court reporters have disappeared from courtrooms, much like we see how public records have disappeared behind locked doors and people gatekeeping the public right to access information and watchdog how public employees and elected officials do their jobs.
Yes, I'm just getting some information so you can.
That's fine. I'm an investigative reporter, and I'm not going to the website or making it in writing. I'm making a request directly to the city, verbally. and it's a prior restraint to require me to do anything else.
And notice she used the term verbally. Okay, I want people to understand language when we talk about how we speak, whether it's oral, verbal, body language, sign language, mouthing. People read lips, so you don't even have to determine whether it's verbal or oral. They're pretty much quite similar. Oral is for dictation, where you write it down. Verbal, however, is direct, face to face, to cause action. What is a verb but an action? So when we speak and it causes things to move, that's verbal. That's what we're supposed to do with our servants. We're supposed to make them move. Get used to it.
I'm not upset. I'm telling you the law. Don't.
Yeah, she's pretty upset. See? They think just you telling them what you need done, all of a sudden you're upset. No, you're the one that's upset because you're being told what you have to do. You cannot just pick and choose the way you want to do something when it's your job. So again, this woman knows what they're supposed to do, and she's commanding it. She's not upset.
Mischaracterize my demeanor. I am not upset. I am recording, so there's no question.
To show what this looks like to press for transparency and accountability in courtrooms, we take you to Kentucky, where cameras are allowed. Here, in a divorce case, the father is representing himself and has made claims that the judge has acted unfairly, seeking for her to be disqualified or thrown off the case, but first allowing her to recuse from the case. The mother in the case is represented by an attorney who describes the father much like the city employee, describing a person seeking access to public records.
All right, looks like we've got everybody now. Let me get started, and we are on the record. Let me get appearances for the record, please.
Judge Sandy Bennett for Allison Madras.
Good afternoon, Judge. Patients required regarding that item.
Kevin Miles, per se.
Let's start with petitioner. So Ms. Bennett, with regard to the petitioner, I'll let you state for the record what matters you believe to be currently pending and what motions are pending that you believe the court needs to address, and then I'll hear from Mr. Miles.
In his motion to dismiss the appeal, he goes on and on disparaging the court, disparaging me, disparaging my client, alleging that there's a giant conspiracy against him. And then after that, what he had on today's motion docket is also a lot more of the same with essentially a disparagement festival of everybody's against him. Doctors Burley, Marvin and McCrary all conspired against him, and everything's been manipulated and predetermined, and he hasn't had a fair hearing on anything.
In family courts all across the country, we often see an imbalance in legal representation. One side may have one lawyer, a children's lawyer may be appointed to represent the children, and the other parent has to represent themselves. A parent who has no legal training or experience and who isn't cozy with the judge can often misunderstand what's going on in those courtrooms. And when they speak up about that, the system and the people in it clap back.
I'm a fifth-generation farmer. My family's been here for 100 years. But the death tax, it could end it all. It kills family farms like ours. Ashley Henson's working to eliminate the death tax, to save Iowa farms, and to make sure that this way of life is protected for the next generation. Call Ashley Henson and tell her to keep fighting to kill the death tax and to keep fighting for Iowa.
My apologies, folks. I got distracted there.
He goes on and on about things that he says have happened, which are simply false. And he has demonstrated paranoia and a disconnect with reality. In this court's order in April, you ordered him not to disparage my client or me in any future pleadings, and he turned around and did exactly that. He also included the court in that disparagement, which is also unhinged from reality, where he accuses the court of taking bribes from my client's family members. He took a very deep dive into everybody's social media presence who is remotely connected to this case.
As he should. As he should. Again, folks, I am urging you to get to know these people and seek them out on their social media platforms. They expose themselves. And that's your job, is oversight. As the people, your duty is oversight of the government, because when that government becomes despotic and starts destroying the very class of people that is supposed to be protecting, you're supposed to step up and throw off that despotic government. In case you haven't read the founding documents.
Family court. When attorneys investigate witnesses and social media accounts or disparage the opposing party or attorney, it's called practicing law. But if you don't have an attorney and you engage in that similar conduct, it's called abusive, threatening, conspiratorial, and inappropriate.
He's ramping up his abuse of everybody concerned, and it's very troubling. So I'm asking the court for protections and restrictions and safety for my client, myself, the court-appointed experts, and anyone.
Yep. Yep. The very same treatment. So if somebody else in that case 10 years ago would have filed a 3949A on the case, would they have been subjected to a protection order and then have that protection order renewed 4 years in a row, demanding that he don't show up in court unless he's got counsel and set an appointment? Isn't that closing off a public venue from one of the very people they are obligated to? See the lunacy?
Witnesses I may call.
Did you say that you do have a motion before the court? And
I do.
Judges are supposed to manage their caseloads, which includes knowing what motions and issues are before them to decide. And here, the judge let one party talk about motions and their issues for a rather long time before acknowledging that the most important motion, the motion seeking her disqualification that stops everything in the proceeding, was also on her docket to hear that morning.
It looks like that's what Mr. Miles has filed. Let me hear from Mr. Miles.
What you also have in front of you is the 26A.015 motion, which gives you the opportunity first to recuse yourself.
Okay, so yeah, usually they ask me to do this first, and the other one wouldn't be filed until after I have done that. But
do you want to know how you personally can help?
Yeah, do you want to know how you can personally protect yourself? Quit voting! God damn it, stop it!
Finally acknowledges that there's a recusal request in front of her, a request for her to remove herself, claiming that she hasn't acted fairly to one of the parties or their attorneys in the case.
And so what she basically just said there is, well, I'm going to continue not fairly moving forward until I get to the recusal document, and then we'll look at that. And of course, by then, I'm not going to act fairly on that either, right? Otherwise, she would have taken the recusal seriously and said, oh, well, let me read this and see what's going on. Let me take care of this first because it's priority, right? It's a very serious accusation, right? Oh, no, let's just railroad this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing. I don't have to believe him, right? He's got to believe me because I know what I'm doing. Fucking wake up.
understanding is once the 2O motion is filed, I just have to stop and wait till they rule on their motion.
Contrary to the law and to her words, this Kentucky family court judge didn't stop, and she had this to say about the father and his pleadings, which included pleadings claiming that she had been acting unfairly and not following the law to assure him due process.
I think that's all that I can do today. I, it's so hard to, it's hard to grasp.
It's hard to follow the rules, right? See, that's where it's really at. It's hard for him to follow the rules. Because like in this thing that we're involved in with this wrongful turn constructive eviction, this civil suit, the plaintiff was supposed to give a 7-day notice to cure upon our good faith complaint of a noise issue coming from the upstairs tenant. They didn't do that. We've acted in good faith all the way through, went to our brother in private first before we went to the landlord. So we had a first meeting with our brother in private. He didn't hear us. So we went to our next brother in private, the landlord, the property manager, and they didn't hear us. So then we ended up in a public venue. The court didn't hear us. Well, they did, but they didn't, right? So we appealed both to the Supreme Court, and they didn't hear us, insufficient. We also complained to the Judicial Commission in regards to the multiple procedural legal errors in the case and the state mandatory actions that the court was supposed to take. 2 of them that they failed. That's 2 civil rights violations in 1 case. And that's insufficient evidence. I mean, it's right on the record, but it's insufficient evidence. How much do we need? So our next civil suit against the local court. And we filed another complaint with the Judicial Commission pointing this out and warning them that we're filing suit against the local court. And if they don't take into consideration properly the multiple procedural legal errors and the 2 state Supreme Court violations, violating our civil rights again by the court and now being allowed by the Judicial Commission saying it's insufficient evidence, we will now carry them into that final civil suit as well. I'm not going to play any games. Ain't been playing games for many years. That's why people don't like me. Because I tell them the truth. And when they back down and won't do what they're supposed to, I shove the truth right down their fucking throat. And when it gets to a jury of our peers and my wife gets on that stand and starts crying her eyes out, I guarantee you the jury will already be in our favor because the plaintiff has to get on the stand if they show up in court to do so. And again, admit that they're the ones that violated the law. Every last one of them.
That's really what's going on with Mr. Miles, sir. I did read I think there was something that you sent through the secretary, and I just want to assure you there's absolutely like no basis for any of the things that you put in your pleadings. And it does cause me concern, like that maybe you are in need of some assistance with regard to, it's so far from.
And I don't know the particulars of this case, but I'm quite familiar with the particulars of mine. And I guarantee you, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've brought up all the case laws on every last bit of it. The rules on every last bit of it. The language on every last bit of it. And it's all ignored. I've got a from my research just on this case alone, 2 inches thick. All of it ignored.
A perception of what's true. There's just no basis at all for that. For what it's worth, I feel like maybe you are having some kind of break with your mental health that maybe I would just encourage you to address. There's nothing going on with the court, nothing untoward. I'm not trying to, nobody's trying to, well.
Judge, I want to get an objection on the record just to preserve that. I don't personally believe that statement's appropriate. Well, I do want to preserve that.
You can put it in your motions, whatever you want. I have concerns about your mental wellness. There's just absolutely no basis for, an accusation that occurred.
I have concern about your mental wellness because I don't need anybody's oversight. If they catch me doing this, then I'm the one that's proven incompetent. So I'm going to deem you incompetent by putting it on the record. I don't think you're a state of solid mind here. I think you're confused about something here. This isn't the way it works. See, that's the same kind of shit they try to convince me of.
It's taking bribes.
With that degree on the wall.
It's just way off the wall. Like there's just no truth in it. Frankly, I think that the courts that review it will see through that. But again, I'm more concerned about your mental stability because I just think you need help. I really do.
It was a gift. I resent it.
While he sits there calmly and mentions his stuff without even having to read off paperwork. He's absolutely just totally out of it, right? I mean, he makes no No sense whatsoever when he spoke there, did he?
That I don't personally believe that that statement's appropriate.
Well,
I do want to preserve that.
You can put it in your motion.
Yeah, I don't think that statement's appropriate. I do want to preserve that. So he's making sure that it's in, on, and for the record, saying the same thing. I want to preserve the record, right? So he wants to put that in the record that she's giving the determination that he's mentally incompetent. And she's not competent to do so because that license or degree that she has is not about mental evaluation, is it, folks?
Whatever you want. I have concerns about your mental wellness.
I don't give a fuck about your concern.
An accusation that the court's taking bribes. I mean, it's just way off the wall. Like there's just no truth in it.
Oh, it's just way off the wall that we would accuse somebody of doing something illicit because it's obvious. That's just, you're confused.
Frankly, I think that the courts that review it will see through that, but
I think the courts that review it will see through that. No, the courts that review it won't see through that. They'll just go along and sign on with your delusion.
Again, I'm more concerned about your...
The entire judicial system will do so. Until you hold the entire judicial system at its obligation of duty. You guys know who the judicial system is, don't you?
Mental stability, because I just think you need help. I really do.
Yeah, Judge, with all due respect, I don't think that's appropriate, especially given the motions that are in, given the sealed exhibits that are in, given the statements that are coming from the bench. No disrespect to you in law school and all your schooling. You're not a psychologist, and I do not feel that those statements are appropriate. So thank you.
Bingo! You're not a psychologist. See, this is obvious. This is obvious, folks. And if it's that obvious, then this guy must be insane, right? To even bring up the fact that she's not a psychologist. Well, she's been on the bench long enough. She knows the difference, right? Isn't that the way it works, folks? You bitch-ass slaves.
For the concern, I do. Thank you, but I don't think it's appropriate, Judge.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, and if it gets me recused, it gets me recused. I don't.
If it gets me recused, it gets me recused. See, that's the problem. The recusal is supposed to be taken upon by her. She thinks it's something that she can deny, and it goes up the line, and they have to force her to recuse herself. See how that works, folks? So they're going to force you to push it. You cannot do this with an attorney. You have to do this yourself. You have to stop believing, and you have to start doing your research. That's the first step. Untrain yourself, unindoctrinate yourself, unlearn yourself, and relearn concise English. Start there. Learn what's really being said. Really know the language that's being spoken, verbally or orally.
I think it will, and I don't want it to, but I just sometimes I feel like I have to somewhat step outside of the judge road. Unfortunately, in family court, like years of doing this, we see sometimes people in mental health crisis, and we see there is a pattern of things, and that's what I'm seeing with you. And so I do have concerns, and I want you to hear that. The concerns are...
Oh, and now she's a pattern recognition specialist, right? She's recognizing patterns of people like myself that are disputing what they're putting out. And we're the ones that are mentally incompetent. Fucking wake up.
Again, it's just very concerning, and I just feel like I don't know if you have a mental health provider, I just think maybe you should talk to them about the motion that you filed maybe and see what they think. I don't know. I really don't. I'm not certified as a psychologist.
In criminal court, any defendant who is not competent to stand trial is afforded certain rights and accommodations. But in family court, those accommodations don't seem to exist, and family court judges often appear to play judge, attorney, and even therapist in these proceedings.
I don't.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, again, from firsthand experience, when I was a young man and I got my first criminal charge, the second-degree robbery charge, the supervisory officer that they placed over me decided that she wanted to send me to a local mental health institute for a 30-day evaluation to make sure I was competent. So for the second time in my life, they had me take what's known as the MMPI, Minnesota Metaphysical Intelligence Quotient, or inventory quotient, inventory quotient. It's what most people consider the intelligent quotient. It's an inventory quotient. Okay. And it's how you observe the world around you and what your perception is. They go into your thoughts by asking certain questions. A list of 457 questions. Many of them asked 2 or 3 different times in different ways. And it shows them a pattern of your thoughts and whether you answer the same way for all 3 different questions. It was the same question, but it was asked 3 different ways. Are you going to answer it 3 different ways, or are you going to use the same answer? And it gives them a buildup of what your character is, of whether you see reality and stick to it and stand firm on it, or if you're willing to be loose and accept the little white lies and be that psychopath that doesn't give a shit about the little white lies and whether they hurt somebody else. You're willing to get on your platform with that nice badge on you and pose as that hero and tell people about your horrible day as you saw a dead boy. They want to know if you're willing to play in that sandbox with them. Anyway, so I did this test. And part of that test is you have to do 3 drawings too. You have to draw a person, a place, and a thing. You have to discern what that noun is, a person, place, or thing. Funny how that worked, huh? So I did my drawings, and I'm pretty quite adept at drawing. I'm an artist by nature. I've been drawing since I was a little bitty boy. And so I've done quite a bit of artwork in my life. And like I said, I'm quite well at it. So I spent my time at it because it's something I enjoy. So it took me 1 day or a portion of a day to do the 457 questions. And then each day after that, 3 days in a row, I spent an entire day doing each drawing. Then I handed everything in. I'm going to be there for 30 days. What the fuck, right? Well, the doctor come in about a week later for his own first-hand interview. We had our interview, about an hour and a half, 2-hour talk. Just about everyday life and shit. It was odd. Nothing like any therapist session I'd ever been in through foster care and shit, adoption and all that. Nope, nothing like that. We got done. And about 3 days later, one of the nurse aides comes and says, "Hey, grab your stuff, you're out." Really? And see, the thing about this story is I was supposed to be in there by court order for 30 days. 30 days I was supposed to be in there by court order. But somehow the doctor had more authority and released me in 2 weeks despite the 30-day order. So who really has authority when it comes to life? And the thing about Quo-Warranto, one's rights. Not their title, but their rights. Do you know more about your rights and what that title is all about? See, I've told people when you go throughout your day, you put on different hats because you're wearing different titles. You're at home. You got a lovely wife and 3 children. You're actually wearing 2 titles at once. Daddy and husband. And I'm telling you, you don't treat your little boys like you would little girls. You don't treat your little girls like you would little boys. You don't treat your little girl like you would your mother. You don't treat your little girl like you would your wife. You don't treat your little son like your daddy. You don't treat your little son like your brother. They have roles, and you should treat them in their roles, their natural roles, first and foremost. And this is why I say you can call me misogynist all you want, but those are your basic roles in life, first and foremost. Anything above and beyond that, such as employer or employee, boss, pimp, doctor, lawyer, whatever, Those are extenuous. But the internal foundation, you know, that thing where you get it takes a village to raise a child. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That village is an extension of the family first, not the government, not your job, nothing like that. And that's why the scripture talks about putting your house in order. Know who has authority for what. And ultimately, you have all authority. And the only problem is you've been induced into giving it up and don't realize it. You believe they have authority. And they know it because you believe.
No, I really don't. I'm not certified as a psychologist, but the things that I'm seeing cause me concern for your mental health and that you're just somehow not seeing reality clearly. I don't know how else to say that. And again, I say it with compassion for you. I promise you, I try to be fair every day.
Greetings, Brooke Ray. I saw your comments in, I believe it was Jack's chat yesterday or something. I appreciate it. She says, we must not wrestle against flesh and blood. We should be suing those in uniforms, wearing masks, pretending to do service for the people while damming up all the money in their banks. Yep, those ones, exactly. Not family or neighbors. Well, the problem with that part there, though, Brooke Ray, is like I'm explaining here. It's so systemic that it involves your friends and neighbors, your family and neighbors, your friends, all of it. So it comes to manning up and holding each other to task, not condemning them, but holding to each other to task. And so when they need to repent, we have to point out what their wrong is and help them in their repentance, not putting them down and sending them off and exiling them. Even God asked for forgiveness for exiling. Remember Cain and Abel? That was a type of exile. Did not those progenitors return to the land of Canaan?
I try to do the right thing by the children that are in this court. So I hope that you would hear that and reach out to your healthcare provider. But that really has nothing to do with, in a way, like your legal issues, like whatever, they'll, you know.
Absolutely. So why did you bring it up? Why did the petitioner bring it up? Why did the petitioner's counsel bring it up? If it has no relevance to the hearing, then why did the petitioner bring it up? And why are you fomenting it against him from the bench? Do you see the insanity?
We'll go through the processes. There's times, Mr. Miles, because again, I've seen you for a long time, and there's times I thought you were doing better. And again, the pleadings, there's no reality to it.
Do you know how amazing this razor is?
No, I don't, and I don't care. So please help a brother out. Hit that PayPal link down below and share some love. Every little bit helps. Even $20 would help me get rid of all these commercials. And now we've got the Hitler's Willing Executioner video that I was going to review. Now that we've gotten done with all that stuff, to help import to everybody what I see here is you people are Hitler's willing executioners. You people, and I am by no means innocent. I too once was a fucking fool. I too once was a bitch ass slave. I too once was Hitler's willing executioner, willing to go along to get along, thinking somehow my mommy and daddy as federal agents would get me somewhere in life. And amazingly, 48, 49 years old, my mom looked at me and said, Keith, the police are your authority. Imagine that. You're shitting me. You've known all along that we live in a police state, and I didn't. Well, let's take a look at this one first. Magic mirror on the wall. This is from our brother Apocalypse down in chat. Give him props. Go check him out.
On the wall, who was my great grandpa? Du musst das Bild fertig malen! Well, that definitely made a lot of sense, and be honest with you, didn't surprise me.
Didn't surprise me either, brother. Here we go.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who was my great grandpa? Du musst das Bild fertig malen! Well, that definitely made a lot of sense, and be honest with you, didn't surprise me.
Yeah. I love it, brother. I love it. I appreciate it. I'm gonna repost it. Let's see here. We lead by example. We don't have a right to tell them how they are wrong. We are our own judge. Well, you have to tell them when they're wrong. Romans 13, there is but one authority ordained by God. And when they're posing that authority on that bench and they're wrong, well, they're affronting one of children of God. Okay. And again, just like the government, it's the ultimate duty of the people to throw off that despotic government. And that means individually, we each have to stand up. We've got to get over this thing about electing one speaker and say he speaks for all of us. It doesn't work that way, folks. That's the Democrazy and its illicit balancing mechanism. That's 51-49. Do you know how teetering that 51-49 balance is? It's the weakest. The strongest teetering balance is one that's something like 80-20 or 90-10. You know what I mean? And yes, that man was getting railroaded. But the people in uniform are corporations. No, they are not corporations. They are people just like us, but they work for corporations. They are the ones that have been allowed to hold that title. But we don't sue the title. We leave that title alone so it can be filled by another person. We take out the person. They have a duty to do things correctly, yes. We are children of God and we are no better than each other, so we have no right to judge each other. Yeah, we're not judging each other. We're judging the actions and the words. Jeremiah 54:17. No weapon formed against thee shall prosper, and ye shall rise up against those that would place, and every tongue that would place judgment against you. This is the inheritance of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So this tells me I'm not to judge you, but the weapons, the actions, and the words. So I judge them. I'm fallible too, so I don't want to be judged myself. But if I wield a fork and I'm wielding it wrong, I would hope my brother would tell me I'm doing so wrong. And that's the correction, not an accusation that I used it wrong and therefore I should be punished. That's the mechanisms we're using today, and it's wrong. Yes, judge yourself first, then judge with righteousness. Yes, 54:17. I am a mother. Correction is my middle name, but I do not judge her. She is her own being. She's allowed to make mistakes and do what she has to do in order to learn. But I will correct her, yes. Some people are hard to correct. They don't want to hear that truth. They don't want to hear that they're wrong, and they think that you're making an accusation. And I don't pose that again. I'm not here to make accusations, but I will judge you and I will give you correction. I agree. So let's get back into it. Hitler's willing executioners.
Okay. Panels along the channel in the comment section, everything. The last portion of, so again, with Hitler's willing executioners, the last portion I'm going to read from the book. Like I said, there's you can get this book, Hitler's Willing Executioners, Ordinary Germans in the Holocaust, Daniel Jonah Goldhagen. And as a reminder, just like in the Postal Service issue, I'm not here as an enemy of the state, the government, or anybody. I'm just here putting out information and opinions in my commentary of the things that I observed in my actual firsthand experiences. They're nothing but opinions. It comes under fair use limitation on exclusive rights. So we're going to continue on with this. And section 9 is police battalions, lives, killings, and motives. And I'm not going to get too deep into this because, like I said, most of it is just reiteration of what I've already been posing for a number of years, and the importance of realizing what you're doing when you're adding those data elements into these various different jurisdictional systems and becoming party to that. You're again, in my opinion, those actions provide for evolving ideologies and falsehoods, and we really need to learn how to get back to our roots and origins. So this part is going to talk about the psychology part. I'm going to touch on that, and then I'm going to leave. Like I said, this is going to be the last time I read this book. It's up to you guys to do your research anyway. So I tell you, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. Crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. And it starts out with one of my favorite terms in regards to all this etymology and everything I've been studying, in surveying, as in survey. The genocidal contributions of Police Battalion 101 and other police battalions, it becomes easy to
survey, as in survoy, survoyage, voyage, surveyage, survoyage. So it's a tracking of the father's path or father's line.
review the perpetrators only through the prism of their murderous deeds. In other words, they're talking about not taking into account their actual private lives and what kind of jobs they held, what kind of education they had, how they were raised as children, this and that. It's all a matter of developing the psychology. And in these modern times, the psychology is more ingrained towards societal living rather than natural.
That's sociopathy. Social apathy. Apathetic. They give not one fuck about anybody else. It's a social conditioning. You've been conditioned to care about yourself, and that's it. You're the one, Neo. You're the one. You can make it all happen, but you got to use everybody else to do it because you can't do it yourself.
And that's where those false ideologies come in. This produces some distortion. The extraordinary character of the killing operations, not surprisingly, leads many to consider the perpetrators and their deeds in isolation, sequestered from the rest of human social activity, from the normal workings of society, in part because the genocidal deeds seem not to inhabit the same social or moral universe, but belong to a special sub-universe of reality. In other words, this is like what I was saying in regards to the Christianity coming about, and just by its own presence creates an anti-Semitic ideology. And this again is just my own expression that I don't believe in any of the writings, the Judaism, the Christianity, the Muslim, the laws of the United States. I don't believe in them. What I do is I learn how they say much like the same things throughout the different writings. They just say them in different ways, but they're basically saying the same context of the spiritual intent of.
And that's what I was saying about that test that they have me take for a mental evaluation. They run the same question through there 2 or 3 different times, several of them, and they do it in different ways, different ways of questioning and using that same premise of a question to see if you recognize it, see if you see that pattern. It's the same thing with the scriptures. There's a pattern in there, and when you see that pattern and what it's telling you about the virtues and validation of your behaviors and the righteousness we were just talking about, it's the actions speak louder than words, and we don't condemn each other. We condemn the actions and words when they don't coincide with our true nature. That's it.
The word. And this is why it's important to break down those words. Survey, again, look at it. It's sir. What's they? So you have to think about that. This can lead to character of the perpetrators and their lives. And again, this is the concept like Kunta Kinte and being a slave. When he was a free man, he had his own ideologies and people called him a certain thing. When somebody tried to subject their ideology of slavery and his position in it, they tried to force upon him their idea of the name and tried to force him to take on the name Toby. And he refused to give up his natural name that he already came to know. He realized that was a change in ideology. It's like a change in personality. This goes to the personality disorders. These Germans partook in activities other than genocidal slaughter. In other words, they had their own social lives, and they lived a social existence. Understanding them and their deeds requires that the non-killing aspect of their lives be acknowledged and investigated. And again, this goes to the psychology of how they grew up and their social element that then allowed them to take upon the false ideology that totally destroyed their entire social upbringing in regards to image and likeness. We're all humans, we're all man, we're all children of God, this and that. And then somebody along the way created the ideology that this particular type of people is a blight on the rest of people, and therefore they should be excluded somehow. Whereas they actually recognize them as being existent prior to them. Therefore, whatever came after must be either subject to them or outside of them. And if you profess that you're outside of something that came before, then you're professing a different origin, pure and simple. Let's see here. Their cultural activities, the police clubs, recreation centers, canteens, the sporting events, movies, plays, religious activities, emotional attachments like the family tributes and stuff to birthdays and marriages and all that, and moral discussion and injunction present a stark, even jarring contrast to their apocalyptic deeds. And that's reflecting again on what I just said, that they have a basic foundation of a social organization of acceptance, and then the ideology is an exclusion. So somewhere along the line, they became confused in that and didn't realize that their actual intent of acceptance was then rejected by the acceptance of that which came before them, and their acceptance into that. Now they're rejecting that. So there's an obvious switch. And usually it's psychological. It's greed, gluttony, pride, those kind of things. People that refuse to.
Mostly pride. And this is what we're talking about nowadays with that personality contest, the popularity and everything, and all these different transgenders and transhumanism and all these different little subsections of society that are just insane, you know, and that's become the normal. And the people that are normal, that would be a normal man to stand up for himself, are seen as the insane ones. We're the ones that are mentally off, while the rest of the people have been pacified like a bunch of sheep. Who's your daddy?
They humiliate themselves and humble themselves as being lesser than the greatest power there is. Most people don't want to let that ego subside to something that's greater. They think that ego is the greatness, and it's not. It's the knowledge. That's where your power comes from. The perpetrators had free time, which they could use, depending on where they were stationed, for a variety of activities that allowed, even prompted, them to activate their moral faculties and to take a personal, individual stance. In other words, if you look at that right, they were helping them to manifest in the subservience to two masters. You're master to us while you're placating here, but then when you go off and you go ahead and master yourself under that mastership. See, that's the duality that they get you to play in, and you think that's proper, and it's not. The ego is meant to hold one station in life, and that's to know thyself and the power of the knowledge that ego holds. That's the limitation of the ego, is the knowledge. This is where narcissists go wrong. They think they know.
And that's where when you understand that ego, there's a separation, a divide. And you have the ego and the id, and the id is the instinctual drive. The ego is the personal drive. And then you have the super ego, which is extra personal. Instead of thinking for yourself now, you're now thinking for the entire group. That is the super ego. You think for everybody's best interests. So when we're going forward with this civil suit, it is not so we can make money. It is to put my voice out there in the truth, because so many other people deserve to be treated better than what we've been treated. And I know if I don't stand up and do something about it myself, it will do nothing but continue. It is when good people don't stand up that this shit goes on. I'm a good man, and I will stand up against it.
So much that they know more than everybody else. That's not so. The fallacy of AI as well. The perpetrators had free time, which they could. Oh, let me go on to the next sentence. We already read that. Greetings, Nubs. How you doing tonight, brother? Nope, no sound, brother. Nope. Might need to go out and come back. All right, we'll wait for him to come back. In the meantime, we're back to the reading. Whether they were in church, at play, or in a small group, say drinking at a bar and surveying the terrain of their lives, the perpetrators lived in a moral world of contemplation, discussion, and argument. They could not but react, have opinions, and pass judgment on the events, large and small, unfolding before them daily. Events. Any better? Again, that's better. And again, this is why I keep telling you, they're using those ad hominems to displace you, disposition you from the event of your true character. And if you learn how to operate in your true character at all times, they can't do that, because your true character isn't named. It changes. That's why I say I've got 10 different personalities here on YouTube, because if I decide I want to change in my presentation to the public, I can do so as the creator of my personalities. And now I think you're frozen, Nub. Yeah, I think we lost him again. Must have bad signal. Looks like he's sitting in a closet like Paul used to. Uh-oh, something happened. Nope, froze again. Anyway, what we're talking about here again is the psychology and that ego. And knowing that in one setting, the social setting, you're more relaxed and comfortable amongst those people that have a relaxed ideology, and they're not all tense about enforcing a certain and distinguished ideology within bounds and limitations, such as those policies, codes, rules, regulations, and stuff. So we have to remember that if you're going to really truly bring the word of truth, then you have to learn how to bring that word of truth against those false ideologies. You can't live to the best of your abilities if you're allowing those little lies and stuff, those false ideologies, to placate them as a portion of your life. If they play a portion of your life, then that shows a place where you can observantly improve, and failure to do that, and the lack of want to do that, shows ignorance, bliss, gluttony, greed, convenience, complacency, all things that I believe are inherently against our true nature, to be on guard, to be ever watchful, to make assurances that things aren't wrong in the now time. We can't placate to the insurance scheme that says if it goes wrong in the future, we can do this, this, and this, because you can't do that. Particularly in these insurance programs that placate they can't insure against acts of God. So that means that they can't insure against my own breath. Therefore, it's not covering me in any sense of the words. It's only covering the person, period. That's the only thing that paper document is about. We're going to discuss that here after we get done here. Some of the men went to church, prayed to God, contemplated the eternal questions, and recited prayers, which reminded them of their obligations to other humans. How quickly they forgot them when they went to work and just started doing their job again. See where we go with that? The Catholics among them took communion and went to confession. And when they went at night to their wives and girlfriends, how many of the killers discussed their genocidal activities with their women and children? See, that's the psychology. They're openly and willingly able and wanting to do stuff in as it relates to just doing my job, because again, their protection, their motivation to protect their wives and children is so great that they will do whatever means necessary to take a paycheck home to help them survive, because they've already fallen to the false ideology of personage and that voluntary servitude. So again, I urge you to really look at what you're doing in the volunteerism in those actions. No one's making you do it. There's no law that says you have to have an ID. Yet you think you need to have a social security card so you can get an ID, so you can go get a job, so you can just do your job and bring home a paycheck. There's much more value to life than that, I assure you.
And this is where we get into the concept of the police state. And my mom telling me, Keith, the police are your authority. While I was being brought up as a Christian, but you know, they're so willing to discuss all that police state horror and the dead babies and car crashes and the reasons you need to follow this law, this law, and this law, because it's safe for everybody that way. They're looking out for everybody's best interest, right? Except yours, because now you live in this police state and there's not one fucking Bible in the house. They don't discuss the scriptures in the house. They only do that at church 1 day a week, and then profess the other 6 days that they're these immaculate Christians that follow the law. That's those two different houses, the two different daddies, the two different masters, right? Good job, J.O.B.
The next and last part I'm going to read here, I believe, let me double check that, placates to the very thing about ministering the word to all creatures. And yet again, somehow by understanding that ideology and showing that not just in our social life, but also in doing our job, is totally contradictory to the fact that we would dismiss an entire population of people's lives, let alone even one other life. The desire to prevent illness in police dogs can be seen as having purely a utilitarian measure. The ties of affection binding one SS general to his dog, however, were also capable of moving genocidal agents into action. See, while they were killing other people because of some seemingly greater bondage to a dog, they enforced social morals and objectives in their genocidal rampages to search out a lost dog while they were killing and slaughtering people. The ties of affection binding one SS general to his dog, however, were also capable of moving genocidal agents to action. In October 1942, the men of Police Regiment 25 learned in a postscript to a regimental order that a 14-month-old yellow German Shepherd, answering to the name of Harry, had weeks earlier jumped from a train near Loveland and had not yet been recovered. All stations, the order continued, are requested to look for the German Shepherd so that he may be returned to his master. They were caring more about a dog that was lost in the wilderness that could actually probably take care of himself very well out there, and wanted to make sure he could return to his master so he could have a nice plush life and be treated well. Whereas at the same time, the people that are supposed to have dominion out in that wild probably can't survive and are in fact being hunted down and slaughtered. You see the just total contradiction there? The regimental headquarters was to be notified upon the dog's capture. Owing to their missions in search of hidden Jews, most of the men receiving this order were already acclimated to scouring the countryside. Perhaps each one kept an eye peeled for the dog as he continued combing the terrain for every last Jew. So while he was looking for Jews, he was also looking for a dog, but at the same time looking for those two different, quote, creatures. One was distinctly an image and likeness and was abhorred so much they were hunting him down to kill him. The other was viewed in the image and likeness of a man's best friend and held inherently more value morally and socially. The dog's fate, if indeed he ever was found, was greatly preferable to that of the Jews, because if they found the dog, they'd take him back and feed him. If they found a Jew, they put him through torture before they kill him.
Treat them worse than even predators. If a bear kills a man, they might go out and kill that bear, but they don't go out and kill all the bears just because they're bears. See what I'm saying? In
every respect, the Germans would have agreed it was better to be a dog. And I'm telling you here today that there's going to come a same day where those events are going to repeat themselves. And I'm not saying I'm going to be the one directing it. I just have a very strong inclination that because history repeats itself already, it's not going to stop repeating itself. And when those events can't happen again, those people that are going to be hunted down for what they are, they're going to wish they were a dog. So anyway, I want to take a real quick moment. Thank everybody for your support. Norman Longstaff, Vic Cunningham, Chosimba, Nubs, come on back up if you can get a better connection. Anybody else out there? Appreciate all the support. I really do. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button, whether you're on any one of the 3 channels. Journal here lately. You've heard me talking about journal here lately as it relates to the general journal and general ledger, administrative journal and administrative ledger. Okay. Similar words, and this is from Oxford Languages, as a noun, a newspaper or magazine that deals with a particular subject or professional activity, subject or event. So it's a particular or a specific subject or activity. It can be professional or private. It doesn't have to be, as they say, professional. Profession is your own profession of what you do. In that context, it's your professional, and it's the events of your profession. It's your story. It's your journey. It's your journal. Professional journal. Same thing. It's what you profess. Similar words, in other words, synonyms, things that mean the same thing. So, periodical, publication, magazine, gazette, digest, professional organ, review, newsletter, news sheet, bulletin, newspaper, paper, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly.
So when we talk about newsletter and news sheet, what is news? The word news is exactly what it says. It is new. It is bringing you information that is new. Breaking news. It's new. That's all it is. Are you going to believe the news because it's new to you? Or are you going to do your research and find out if it's true or factual?
From a noun that describes things to time periods, concepts, also known as things, in a different specific area of grammar or denotation or classification. These are material subjects. These are times: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Number 2, context: a daily record of news and events of a personal nature, a diary, or of a private nature. Similar: diary, day-by-day account, daily record, log, logbook, weblog, blog, vlog, moblog, yearbook, chronicle, register.
Register. Register. Yeah, look in your family Bible. There might be a register in there where you mark down or journal your personal events. Personal events of a personal nature. Not public, private. When you put things on the public register, it's of a personal nature, but they're public now. Okay? So when you register your child's name, you register it in the Bible, and when they demand that you register it in the public record, you have to tell them no, that is for the registration of a legal entity, and he is covered under a private family trust. I urge everybody to learn how trusts work and establish the legal identity privately in a private trust where the name and number does not have to be disclosed, only the trust itself. All the private register information, that's private, and it remains private.
Register. Register. Paper, register. Notebook. Commonplace book. Annals. History. Daybook.
History. History because it's public and everything's on a public register. The federal register. The national registers in every nation around the world.
Register. The next word. It is a synonym with journal. Register. An official list or record. For example, meaning parable, same thing, of births, marriages, and deaths, of shipping, or of historic places. A membership register. Official list. Listing. Roll. Roster. Index. Directory. Oration. Direction. Direction of oration. Catalog.
And that's why I said in the Susan Bossy video earlier, she was directing them verbally. Words have meanings, folks. And when you construct it properly, it commands action.
Schedule. Inventory. Invent oration. Oration of invention. Invent. Thought. Tally, as in
invent. Your vocal cords. It's a ventilation system where air passes through. The breath of life itself. Start inventing things, folks. Learn how to invent. In other words, learn how to speak.
Daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, calendar, same, record, chronicle, diary, journal, logbook, logbook, ledger.
Just like the account. See, there's a dystopian view that account and ledger are the same thing. No, an account is your accounting. What did you observe? Now you're going to record it. If it's a ledger, you're going to do the finances, the costs, expenses, profits, losses. That's a commercial system.
Ledger. Archive. Annals. Files. To record and file in an index directory. A book or record of attendance, for example, of students in a class or school or guests in a hotel. The system requires teachers to take the register at each lesson. Register.
In other words, she's going to list all of the students in attendance.
Accounting. A particular part of the range of a voice or instrument a particular part of the range of a voice or instrument.
What decibel, a measurement scientifically, what decibel is your voice? What notes can you hit? Those are different ranges of a voice or instrument.
His voice moved up a register. Similar range, area, region, reaches, sweep, voice, notes. Octaves, a sliding device controlling a set of organ pipes which are a tonal quality. A set of organ pipes so controlled. Linguistics, a variety of a language or a level of usage, as determined by degree of formality, as determined by a degree of formality. Those are two suffixes added onto the root word form, wherein God formed the man of the dust of the ground. And when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, that man became a living soul, and he has informed a voice that is a prophet unto the nations.
And that form, just like in equity, in nature, the form isn't so much as the substance. It's substance over form. So when God formed man of the dust of the ground, dust is the substance. That's the nutrients and stuff. Then he mixed water with it. That was a catalyst for all the nutrients to interact with each other in a chemical process.
A choice of vocabulary. This is where I say a man's intellect is limited and biased by his own vocabulary. Greetings, Russ.
Greetings, brother.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. I just saw you were live. Figured I'd pop up, hang out with you a bit.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, we got a bit to go yet. I'm just going over register right now as it relates to journal, as it's synonymous, and we find out it's synonymous with files and index and directory and journal and inventory and schedule and all these other things. And I'm trying to show everybody that if you can't coin your words, then you really need to purse your lips, because as it goes, register and all these different categories mean slightly different things. And it's amazing when you see the linguistics, a variety of a language or a level of usage. You have or there's a nation now today known as the United States of America, and their reading comprehension average is about 7th or 8th grade, which is a level of usage, and their laws are written about the 24th grade. Now, most people think the highest you can go is 12th grade, because that's when they graduate from high school, walk out those doors, and do another fucking thing to learn more than what they were taught. They think they've already learned it all. They become narcissistic, egotistical, Dunning-Krugers. They think they know it all. They think they're smarter than everybody else, and the reality is they're dumb as a fucking box of rocks.
That's definitely true.
As determined by a degree of formality and choice of vocabulary, pronunciation, and syntax. Choice. You have a choice of the words to use. Choose your coin your words or purse your lips according to the communicative purpose, social context, and social status of the user. Again, the vocabulary. A man's intellect is limited and biased by his own vocabulary. It shows the social status of the user. Printing, photography, the exact correspondence of the position of color components in a printed positive. It was reproduced in full color, but unfortunately out of register. Printing, the exact correspondence of the printed or the position of printed matter on the two sides of a page. On the two sides of the page. So when you get a document and they have a correspondence on one side and it poses a position of the subject in the printed matter, then you can flip it over. And according to the UCC 3-402, put your directive as the authorized representative, giving an unambiguous signature as the authorized representative on the instrument, and therefore not be liable for the person named in the instrument. So you can flip it over and give your directive to clear the ledger, clear the accounting. It's that simple, folks. In electronic devices, a location in a store, and this is where they warehouse. This little chip here, that's a warehouse, folks. Synonymously in use, it's a store for massive information. It's a warehouse used for a specific purpose and with quick access time. An adjustable plate for widening or narrowing and opening and regulating a draft, especially in a fire grate, as in a forge. A widening or narrowing of an opening and regulating draft. Would that be the upper and lower plates of your mouth, wherein you render the heated words in your arguments? Art. one of a number of bands or sections into which a D sign is divided. So when you sign in person and you are partaking, you are taking one part of something that was divided for many. North American short for cash register. As a verb, register, third person present. Third person present. Registers, past tense. Registered, past participle. Registered, gerund of present participle. Registering, enter or record on an official list or directory. Enter or record on an official list or directory. This goes to the franking that I was discussing with Flow State and his accusation that I'm committing mail fraud by counterfeiting and forging stamps. I did not enter anything into the mails. It was not entered or recorded. It has a official list or directory that holds no name. If you will look on the postal franking or prepaid postal impression, as they call it, prepaid postal impression, you will see it has no name on it. It's a clear, short instruction that it's prepaid through this certain number for this amount, 1-to-1 ratio. There's no dollar sign. There's no mention of dollar. It's bordered in red, according to the UPU. What is it? I can't remember what they call them now. They're the general orders per se of the Universal Postal Union, and it clearly it discusses franking. And there are like 57 different places, and it tells you all about it. Tells you how you can paint the edges. You can, which is
it's known as the International Mail Manual. Now, here locally, domestically, within the quote United States, they will profess that, well, we do the domestic mail manual. Well, that's because there's a presumption that you're a citizen of the United States, and therefore you have to use the domestic national address format. Whereas I pose that you don't, and you use a 5-line address with no last name. I've showed it before. To Brother Keith, first line. Care of Joyce, second line. Then the number and the street name, third line. And then the city, state, and zip. Zip in square brackets, fourth line. United States of America, fifth line. And I'll be damned if it doesn't continuously get to me, regardless of their domestic mail manual, because all the information they need is there. And like I said, there's no last name, so it does not enter the legal realm. In case you don't understand that, they don't know a last name in such situations, and they cannot inquire into such things in those situations because it's not required in those situations for them to acquire the legal name. Again, folks, understand language, and you have a much better way of figuring this shit out. Again, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government, and for crying out loud, don't believe your mama. Do your research so you know.
If you look at a regular stamp, it's got that wavy edge. It's called pinking. It's not a straight edge. It's so that you can rip them off from a sheet of 100. 1 cent, 1%. Enter or record on an official list or directory is by use of a postage stamp. But to pass through the mails, you use what's known as a prepaid postal impression, showing that it's already been paid and there is no need to buy another stamp. Similar is record, put on record, enter, file, lodge, post, set down. Like when you discover a new land and you set down your post and claim the land by putting a flag on that post. Inscribe. Write down, put in writing, submit, report, as an import, export, take down, note, note, note. So when you enter or record an official on an official list or directory, it's same as a note. United States Code and the Federal Register are notes. It is a promise if it is a note. Minute, as in daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, minutely, a part, a minute part, not minute, minute. List, log, catalog. Enter one's name and other details on an official list or directory. Enroll, put one's name down. Enlist, enter, sign on, sign up, apply, go in for, check in. Put one's name in a register as a guest in a hotel. Of a couple to be married. Have a list of wedding gifts compiled and kept at a store for consultation by gift buyers. Have a list of wedding gifts compiled and kept at a store for consultation by gift buyers. Entrust. A letter or parcel, otherwise known as a manifold dispatch article, to a post office for transmission by registered mail. Entrust to a post office for transmission by registered mail. They are already the trustee as a registered agent. This is all in the public domain, folks. This is all for your own education. I don't understand why you don't learn how to read. Of an instrument, detect and show automatically. Indicate, read, 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 record, show, display, display, express or convey an opinion or emotion. I wish to register an objection. Similar is display, show, express, exhibit, evidence, betray, disclose, evidence, reveal, manifest, demonstrate, reflect, bespeak, testify to. The token of an emotion, show in a person's face or gestures, nothing registered on their faces. Properly notice or become aware of something. The first duty of law is giving legal notice. Make an impression on a person's mind. Make an impression, get through. See, the prepayment postal impression sends it through the mail, so it can reach its final destination and sink in, be planted in firmness, fall into place, penetrate. See, that sperm is to make an impression on mama's egg. It has to get through. It has to sink in. It has to fall into place. You have to penetrate. What do you got to say, Russ? Let's take a moment to speak on this. Hello? Okay, so it seems like Russ walked off. But that's okay.
Nope. I'm here. I'm just having difficulties.
All right. So what do you think about that's anonymous tone and how it works throughout all those jurisdictions?
And we're just about done here. I'm not going to go through the rest of it because most of it's just me and Russ talking back and forth. Not so much on the Hitler's willing executioner stuff anymore. But, you know, I think it's imperative that people start listening, observing, and contemplating for themselves what this stuff means to you. Like I said earlier in the stream, you know, we had an amazing 4th of July where the bitch-ass slaves, I questioned whether they celebrated properly because in this neighborhood, we have a few of the people from south of the border, and I'm telling you what, those motherfuckers celebrate. Them motherfuckers celebrated their freedom. I think the people born here, the Americans, as they call themselves, that were born here into this American dream of comfort and convenience, entitlement. I don't think they understand what they're celebrating. I don't think they understand that they're bitches. They're the bitch-ass slaves, the Hitler's willing executioners, willing to keep fomenting this police state without looking at it for what it is. Think about the term statistic, just mentioned in the comments. Democracy was talking about founded. So he questioned founding, unfounding. And I responded, well, in Latin, since it's confounding, that's a Latinized English word, found. And so with the Latin prefix con, it means with. So literally it means with founding. And when I think of with founding, I think of the foundling. You know, Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against thee shall prosper, blah, blah, blah. That starts out at 54:1, where it talks about sing, O barren. Though thou did not travail with child, sing out loud. Though you did not travail. For there are more children of the desolate than there are of the married wife. And today, the children of the desolate, that's embodied by foundling hospitals, codified in the U.S. Code, wherein that baby's first day of inpatient hospital services is deemed a spell of illness. Literally born into a spell of illness through a foundling hospital and no documentation about your father. And call no man on earth your father, for there is but one Father which art in heaven. Nobody registered your name in that family Bible. It said, that's private. We're not going to make it a public issue at this point. We'll raise him and bring him up in the ways of the Lord. And when he's a full-grown man, competent of his own mentality, then he can come register with you if he wants. That would, of course, be up to him. But see, people have been indoctrinated into believing this false authority that they have to go register. Otherwise, they're going to keep your baby. It's only because you went to the hospital to do it. You can give birth naturally at home, in private, in that temple. When are you going to learn your rights? Aren't necessarily rights. They're responsibilities. When are you going to step up with that responsibility and actually do something yourself about it? And again, I'm not asking you to believe me. Do your research so you know. It's time to stop being bitch-ass slaves. Hitler's willing executioners. Fucking fools. Paying tribute to false patriarch as you claim that you love the one true patriarch. All you good Christians are. Good afternoon, USAA. Are hospitals considered military facilities? They most certainly are. They are an extension of the battlefield. Remember MASH? Remember, doctors used to go door to door. It wasn't until the populace grew and demanded a sterile place where doctors could, and it was a large part of lobbying by doctors to do so as well. Learn your history, folks. Anyway, with that, I want to remind everybody, you know, like I said, those people from south of the border really know how to celebrate the 4th of July and their freedom right here in America. But be rest assured.
Man up, slaves, and hit those buttons, or I'll send ice.
And that's to say, I don't care what color skin you're is. Hit them buttons. Help a brother out if you can. All is appreciated. Every little bit of love you can share through the PayPal link is greatly appreciated. And I will be back again a little bit later, like I said earlier, with another video on equity And hopefully you'll tune in to see that, because it's much like living the principles. One who seeks equity must first come with equity. And that means if you ever run into a problem, you have to be prepared to come with a solution. Remember, I said in equity, you have to create your own remedy. And I'll be talking about a lot of this later on. So hopefully you'll join me then. And in the meantime, once again, enjoy.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is my great grandpa? Du musst das bildfertig malen! Well, that definitely made a lot of sense, and be honest with y'all, didn't surprise me.
Oops. I did something wrong there, folks. Let me pull it back up.
Hold up, grab my soda, cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape pape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes. Or a gorilla in a cape is the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan, how you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation, you're a cheap imitation. Dark set hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over, it's been non-bit.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Production.